Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports has released his hot seat rankings. That's right. It's time to start talking about who might get fired. For some reason, a lot of people like to talk about this. Look, the jobs are significantly different now than they ever have been. So guys that you might not think are on the hot seat, they can be, depending upon what happens this year. So you never really know exactly what is going to go on. But I think Dodd did a pretty good job, because we talked about this a few months ago, and he hit basically all of the ones that we said could be on the hot seat. So let's talk about it. The hottest seat in the country, Sam Pittman in Arkansas. He is ranked a 5 out of 5. He's already got Bobby Petrino on staff. That is a built-in interim coach for Hunter Yurachek, the AD at Arkansas. So if something were to go awry, that would be who would probably get the job, or at least get the job for the rest of the season. Who knows what it could mean, as this is the first year with, some new expanded SEC teams. Of course, Texas and Oklahoma joining. But Arkansas got a rough schedule. The offensive line, which is the thing that Pittman is known for, that thing tanked last year. They are going to be relying on a lot of transfers, so let's see what happens with Sam Pittman. But, you beat Oklahoma State early, maybe get out to like a 3-0, 4-1 start, whatever it might be, because it's not like there's not winnable games early, especially. They could find a way to maybe keep Pittman's job, but if things get off to a rough start, you're probably looking at Bobby Petrino sometime in October. So, as far as the other ones that are ranked number 4s, which is the next to closest hot seat, there's a lot of them. He's got 8 guys ranked as a 4, and I would probably have some of these as a 5. The first one, Billy Napier at Florida. He's got him as a 4. A lot of people would consider him a 5, but I look at it this way. Like, he could go 6-6 and probably keep his job. I don't think Scott Strickland wants to fire him, and I don't think that Florida wants to go through an AD search before they have to hire a football coach. So, if something were to happen with the football program, my guess would be that Scott Strickland would probably get fired first, and Billy Napier would get another year, because this schedule is absurd for them. I think they're going to be okay. I think this is going to be a pretty decent team. Remember, this is a team that started 5-2 last year, and then lost the last 5 games of the season, and went 5-7. But they were in these games. Dealt with a lot of injuries, etc. Yeah, you got to hope that the depth is up to par, but, they got the new quarterback, DJ Lagway, in there. Graham Mertz is still there. I think they're going to be all right. Like, they're not going to be great, but I could certainly see them making a bowl game this year, even with that ridiculous November slate. So, we'll see what happens there. Next on the list, Dave Aranda at Baylor. Yeah. An interesting quote from Aranda at Big 12 Media Days. They asked him about his recent recruiting success, and his response was very quick, very simple. He said, yeah, we're paying players. And it was almost like he just hated the idea of it. But, the reason why I think Dodd would have him at a 4 instead of a 5 is if the university was not aligned on the whole NIL thing before, maybe they are now, and they realize we put this guy behind the 8 ball. And that he didn't want to take transfers. He didn't want to do a bunch of that, like that whatever stuff. So, yeah, I could understand it. Maybe they give him one more year after this, but it kind of depends on what happens. I mean, their win total is 5.5. Probably want to make a bowl game, because remember, these programs are selling hope as well as, stability and whatnot. If there's not a lot of hope left, if people are not showing up to the games, then you got a problem. I mean, then you got a major league problem. So we'll see what happens there. Next there, Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. I don't think he's a 4. I think he's probably closer to a 3. I don't think Vanderbilt believes, like, the system that Lee had set up when he came in was, we are going to recruit the players that are not getting the buzz, the players that we think that we can develop that other people are missing out on. And the issue is, they've done that with some guys, but they immediately transfer out. So this year, they hired in Jerry Kill as an analyst who resigned from his head coaching position at New Mexico State. They're bringing in Diego Pavia along with several New Mexico State guys. New Mexico State they won 10 games last year for the first time in forever. That's the best that program has ever been. So now you've got the head coach of that bunch, along with the offensive coordinator, and a bunch of the offensive players that did really good things. So maybe Vanderbilt finds a way to turn it around, but they've got a ridiculous schedule as well. What is the expectation? We shall see. We shall see. Kalani Sitake at BYU. Ooh, last year was bad. First year in the Big 12, they did not fare so well. In the line of scrimmage is where they had the most problems, and that is what Kalani Sitake is known for. It's never a good thing. It's very Sam Pittman-esque. So we'll see. We'll see what goes on there. But BYU not expected to have a good season again, and we'll see what he ends up doing. Sonny Cumbie at Louisiana Tech. That's another one that you thought coming in things would go great because, his high-flying offense in Conference USA, they had the most talent. Let's say this. Not the most talent, but they had a lot of talent. And it just has not worked thus far. Brought in Hank Bachmeier, former Boise State quarterback last year, had some skill position talent. Just the defense has been atrocious. Everything has been atrocious there. So not great. Temple, Stan Drayton, just show some signs of progress at Temple. And I don't think they're going to. This team, win total is 2.5. I mean, you got to do something. Temple is not used to this. And, I mean, they are at the bottom of the AAC. It is just a joke. Mike New, that's NEU. Ball State, yeah. He's had one winning season there. Been there for a long time, but had one winning season. And that one winning season was in 2020. It was the COVID year. So it's kind of like an outlier. So you got to hope. I mean, he's an alum. You hope that he can get that thing turned around, but, uphill battle. And then finally, last one, Will Hall, also a 4 over at Southern Miss. He's had 2 3-9 seasons and a 7-6 thrown in the middle. Dealt with a lot of quarterback injuries and all that kind of stuff. I thought he was going to be really successful. Remember, he was the offensive coordinator at Tulane before that. And I thought that he could get it flipped around. But this is another team that has gone over to a new conference in the Sun Belt. And things have not gone so well. So I don't think they're going to go this well this season either, unless they really overperform what their roster is. I just don't see it. A couple that you might want to pay attention to. We talked on the last show about Mark Stoops and how there is an anonymous coach in the Athlon preview that said that Mark Stoops, he believes that he's going to retire in the next couple of years. Mark Stoops already 56. His brother, Bob Stoops, retired from Oklahoma when he was 56. Their dad died on the football field when he was, 55? I want to say, somewhere around there. So, yeah, they might have a little bit different perspective on life and the game of football because Mark Stoops has made really good money. And, once you realize that, hey, I know I've done good things at Kentucky, but it's not appealing to some of these other big brands that need coaches, yeah, that becomes a problem. Because Texas A&M, their fans kind of revolted against the idea of Mark Stoops being their head coach. And I think Mark Stoops might be a better coach than Mike Elko. Now, longer sample size, but what he's done at Kentucky, probably better than what they did at Duke in just a couple of years. So just saying, just throwing that out there. And finally, the last one, Kyle Whittingham. We mentioned this on the last show that he said, they've already announced Morgan Scalley, the defensive coordinator, as the head coach in waiting. And then he goes on Big 12 Media Days and tells somebody over there that, yeah, I'm probably not going to be around for the 2027 Utah versus Miami game at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Well, that's in 3 years. So, okay. That's interesting. But then he goes out and he says at Big 12 Media Days that he is day to day as far as his thoughts on retiring. So some days he just wants to retire. Some days he doesn't. So, having a head coach in waiting certainly makes a whole lot of sense, especially if he doesn't even know what he's going to do. This season is going to be his 30th year working at Utah, and after this season, he gets full retirement benefits from the state once you've worked 30 years at one place. Does that change his mind about anything? Does he work this year? If he wins the Big 12, does he go ahead and retire? Even if he doesn't, maybe he goes on and retires and gives Morgan Scalley that job. But that's going to be interesting. Going to be interesting to pay attention to. Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Make sure and follow me on Twitter @GaryWCE. If you want to toss in a question, you can email me, Gary@winningcureseverything.com. Make sure and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.